and on demand. All together, all in one place for you to enjoy.
It's whatever kind of adventure we want it to be.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. Minneapolis officials are renewing calls for transparency Friday, days after an ICE agent fatally shot a woman. City leaders say they are being blocked from accessing key materials. Meanwhile, protests continue in Minneapolis and across the U.S. as the Trump administration continues to defend the ICE agent involved. The Minneapolis mayor is calling for a fair investigation.
And if you got nothing to hide from, then don't hide from it. Include local experts in the process.
And further west, Oregon and federal officials are investigating a shooting by Border Patrol agents in Portland that injured a man and a woman during a traffic stop. The Trump administration says the two are believed to be linked to a Venezuelan gang, claiming agents fired after the driver tried to run them over. Portland leaders are ramping up criticism of the administration, calling on federal agents to leave the city. And Friday's job report from the Labor Department shows employers added 50,000 jobs in December, slightly lower than November. The unemployment rate fell to 4.4%, slightly lower than forecast. U.S. stocks rose to all-time highs in response to the report. And some economists were encouraged by the lower unemployment rate, which had risen the previous 4 reports. And that is a look at your Spectrum News in 90.
Hey everybody, I'm meteorologist Nate Harrington. As we look at the big picture, a busy weather weekend ahead, especially across the eastern side of the country. Flash flooding risk through Saturday in the south. With that will come isolated severe weather chances, damaging winds and tornadoes. A possibility, rain, snow, and ice from the Great Lakes to the north and east. We'll talk about heat too building across the country. That's in your forecast in just 10 minutes.
Welcome to The Big Deal. I'm Errol Lewis, national political anchor at Spectrum News. To all of our viewers, Happy New Year. We launched this program back in 2024 to bring you the best news, debate, and analysis of our country and its people. And we've been on the air ever since, highlighting some of the biggest issues shaping our nation. In this first full week of 2026, Spectrum News is tracking multiple political developments here in the 50 states and overseas. And that includes this year's midterm elections, as well as major upcoming Supreme Court rulings and the Trump administration's actions that impact the local communities that we serve, including our newest viewers in Michigan and Alabama and Georgia. Today we're starting with the outrage sparked by the fatal shooting of a 39-year-old mother named Renee Good in Minnesota by a federal immigration agent. Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, as well as other Trump administration officials, are defending the agent's actions, but video of the incident has raised questions about whether the shooting was truly a matter of self-defense. Demonstrations in Minneapolis and across the nation reflect growing frustration over the president's deportation campaign and ICE's actions. Spectrum News political reporter Anthony DeBruzzi is on the ground in Minneapolis, where a memorial for Renee Good has become a focal point.
It was horrible. It was horrible because I was standing, 4 feet away, 5 feet away from the ICE agents.
Ruth Birch happened to come upon the scene as it was unfolding Wednesday morning in Minneapolis. Birch tells Spectrum News she's upset that the U.S. Attorney's Office reversed course on Thursday and is now letting the FBI solely take charge of the investigation. That means the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension no longer has access to the evidence or interviews it needs to do its own independent review.
It's a sham. It's another joke. It's another joke. It's another loss of power that we have to get the information.
Though disappointment can be added to the list of emotions the community is feeling, the residents we spoke with believe peaceful protests are the right thing to do.
I grew up in the 60s. And I remember some things that happened when I was a young kid in 1968, and this is worse.
As the memorial grows, so too does a sense of strength among community members.
I see love right there, a pile of love and hope. I think the intent is to militarize our city and make us hate our neighbors. The opposite was happening.
Joining me now with more are two top political analysts. Jason Fechner is a political anchor for Spectrum News 1 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Diana Harry is a political reporter for Spectrum News in New York City. Jason, let me start with you. You're not too far from Minnesota, where the ICE shooting took place, and that has led to protests nationwide, including in Milwaukee, as demands grow for the federal agent to face criminal charges. Are ICE agents making arrests in Wisconsin, too?
Errol, great to see you. And yes, there have been a number of immigration arrests that have taken place all across Wisconsin, most notably inside the Milwaukee County Courthouse and just outside the courthouse building there. Data into this fall for the entire state of Wisconsin showed about 86 immigration-related arrests each and every week here. That's a lot higher than the 37 or so that took place each week under President Joe Biden. So a spike in about 150% or so out there. And I think while we've had arrests here, we have definitely seen more high-profile arrests just to our south in Chicago, Illinois, and again just to our west across the Mississippi River there in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And what do those communities have in common, of course? Democratic strongholds. Governor J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, Governor Tim Walz in Minnesota, both outspoken critics of President Donald Trump and what ICE is doing across the country. The difference here in Wisconsin, we've got a Democratic governor, of course, but we did vote for President Donald Trump in the most recent election, so I don't know if that factors into this. The other thing that I would mention, we've seen more and more people over the last couple of nights from Milwaukee to Madison to these other communities throughout Wisconsin joining in these protests out there, calling on ICE to stop this enhanced enforcement effort out there. They're calling it scary. They're calling it illegal. So we're going to see more people going into the streets this weekend out there. Obviously calls, especially among Democratic lawmakers, for peace and restraint. We'll see how this all plays out over the next couple of days.
Okay. And Ayana, meanwhile, on the West Coast, two federal immigration agents shot and wounded two people in a car. That happened outside a hospital in Portland, Oregon on Thursday. What do we know about that situation, and is there an investigation underway?
So there is an investigation underway, and we've been receiving updates from the Department of Homeland Security, and DHS has given a bit more context today as to what led up to this shooting. Two people were injured. DHS is saying they were injured during a targeted traffic stop, and they're claiming that when the two people in the car were asked to pull over, they tried to hit officers, and that's when the shooting took place. The two people who were injured have now been identified as migrants who entered the United States unlawfully from Venezuela. DHS says they both have ties to that notorious gang Tren de Aragua, but they did not provide any context or any evidence to back up that claim. And I also want to mention that there is a parallel investigation happening now. So federal investigators are looking into this, but also the Attorney General of the state of Oregon says he too will be looking into the shooting to determine whether or not the steps taken by federal officers, if they were lawful or not.
Okay. Now, Jason, a lot has happened this week, but we don't want it to pass without talking about the 5th anniversary of that January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. There is an extraordinary White House page posted, literally looks like a campaign ad, frankly an attack ad, that attacks Democrats and accuses them of creating the riot. Does this amount to a kind of literal rewriting of history?
Errol, it might. I mean, in this day and age of everyone being in their news silos per se, you know, history is kind of in the eye of the beholder out there. And I think we've kind of seen this pendulum shift back to the narrative and the truth as Republicans, especially a lot of Republican leaders there in Washington, would have you believe and say that you should believe it, to where things were in the immediate aftermath of the January 6th attack out there. And I think a notable thing took place this week on social media. Representative Mike Collins of Georgia had posted that there were thousands of grandmas there in the crowd that day of January the 6th. Meanwhile, an actual grandma known as the MAGA Granny, Pamela Hemphill, is one of the January 6th defendants who didn't take a pardon from President Donald Trump, and she has since spoken out about being part of the MAGA movement, saying that she was lied to by President Trump. So in this country, in this day and age right now, where there is a lot of division out there, it seems that at least for the foreseeable future, Americans will continue to be divided about what they feel and what they say happened back on January the 6th.
Okay, Ayana, another big story this week was the appearance in federal court of Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores. They were taken out of Venezuela, of course, brought to New York and hit with drug running and cocaine importation and weapons charges that could send them to prison for decades. President Trump met with oil executives today as he tries to figure out the future of that country. Now, you were actually in the courtroom for the hearing. What was that like?
There were certainly some tense moments, Errol, with Nicolas Maduro standing up in front of the judge saying that he had been kidnapped, that he was innocent, and he was still the president of Venezuela. Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores, they both entered not guilty pleas to the charges against them in this significant drug trafficking and gun case. We expect the two to remain in jail, in a New York City jail, until their next court date, which is in March. But they do have the right to seek bail at a later date. They did not ask for bail when they were in court earlier in the week, but they can still do so. Also, Celia Flores, her attorney, mentioned that she had sustained some serious injuries during their capture in Venezuela, so we anticipate her to get some medical treatment. And during this hearing, Barry Pollack, Nicolas Maduro's attorney, said he plans to raise some substantial issues with the legality of how the two were brought into custody. So we could see perhaps some court paperwork, some court motions filed to contest that in the coming days.
Okay, well, clearly a lot to continue to cover. Thank you both for your insights and analysis. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we'll talk more about how Venezuelans outside of that country are reacting. I'll be joined by a Spectrum News journalist who is reporting from the neighboring country of Colombia. Stay with us.
Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost, and that's the magic of math. Will this be on the test? Sure, why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Yeah!
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
Being a cowboy, well, I don't know anything different. I had a very successful career. Life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally. And then I got hurt. I dug into mental health. I wanted to be better as a person. I start my day with a workout. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
that this is the beginning of the end of this regime in Venezuela. We will never forget this day.
When I saw that he was captured, it was we cried. It was joy.
We are so ready to see, a transition, a peaceful transition in Venezuela, and we know that with the U.S. government, we're gonna do that.
Finally, after 26 years, the freedom of my country, Venezuela. And I'm so grateful for Trump for doing this.
People back home are very joyful, but they are, of course, still afraid.
We are back with the big deal, where we're turning back to the instability in Venezuela. There are roughly 900,000 Venezuelans living in the United States. You just heard from a handful of them who are expressing a wide range of emotions. Since Nicolas Maduro took control of that country back in 2014, more than a quarter of the Venezuelan population has fled. That's about 8 million people. A majority of them have migrated to other countries within Latin America and the Caribbean. And that very much includes Colombia, the neighboring country that is home to the highest concentration of Venezuelan migrants. The latest total is estimated to be about 2.8 million. Spectrum Noticias political reporter Isabel Morales has been reporting on the Venezuelan community from Colombia. She's been doing that for the last week, and she joins us now from a city, Rio Negro, that is a short distance from Medellin. Good to see you, Isabel. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me on your show. Appreciate that.
This week, President Trump doubled down on his statement that the United States will be running Venezuela for the foreseeable future. What are you hearing from Venezuelan migrants about the U.S. possibly taking control of their country? Do they think that's actually happening? And if so, are they happy about it?
What I'm hearing from Venezuelans, migrants here in Colombia, basically they are hope, but also it's a lot of cautious. Many of them, they don't believe like the U.S. will run Venezuela, but there are hope that they will make, or the U.S. make some changes in the country. One of those are like recently they announced release some of Venezuelans and foreign political prisoners that the Delcy Rodriguez, who is the acting vice president, said Delcy Rodriguez, basically she said they are experiencing a new political movement in the country. I spoke with Irina Salazar. She's a community leader here in Colombia. What she said, it was like they are ready when is the moment to move back to Venezuela, and they hope the U.S. will basically make those changes very quickly.
They are accepting proposals from the U.S. government so they can clear the path towards a transition. Every day, immigrants have mixed feelings. They are happy that Maduro is no longer in power, but they are still uncertain about when the rest of the transition will happen.
Okay, I saw from your reporting that many Venezuelans are starting new lives, and they're, in some cases, working without permits, taking sub-minimum wage jobs. According to the average Colombian, are they a burden on the local economy, or are they a boost?
Basically, Venezuelans in Colombia are helping the economy, but there are some Colombians, they don't understand that, and they think that Venezuelans are taking their jobs, and what we see is this informality of Venezuelans doing some jobs that Colombians, they don't want to do. I spoke recently with somebody that runs a hotel, and she has 6 employees. All of them are Venezuelans. And that is what she says about what Colombians, they don't want to do.
Not many Colombians like to do this kind of work. They are more selective. Venezuelans, on the other hand, are willing to work even if it's just for 1 or 2 days. That's something that really defines us.
Some Colombians are worried about the competition, but economists and groups and studies say that immigrants had boosted the local economies through their labor consumption, paying taxes, and they are really helping the economy, but not just in Colombia, all Latin America.
Okay, great reporting. Thanks for spending some time with us, Isabel Morales. Thanks a whole lot. We're not done just yet. Coming up next, we will talk about some major changes that are being ordered by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., from new dietary guidelines to updated vaccine recommendations. What does it all mean for you and your family? We'll break it all down next. Stay with us.
The stories that touch our border affect us all. That's why at Spectrum News Plus, we don't just cover these communities. Our dedicated reporting team also calls them home. That perspective allows us to take an in-depth look, going beyond the politics, to see the impact on people's lives and what it means for you and your community. Balanced border coverage that tells the full story here on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
It's only a hike. It's only made possible by Spectrum Business connecting healthcare providers of all sizes. Like hospitals relying on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network with industry-leading reliability. Practices keeping patient data safe with advanced security. Pharmacies accessing records in the cloud without fail. It's tailored connectivity solutions built for life-changing moments. It's only a hike. It's only everything. Spectrum Business.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth interviews of the hottest shows on and off Broadway. So grab a seat, because this is a show you won't want to miss. Join us Saturday nights at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central for Onstage.
Onstage is presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Discover which Cadillac is right for you and elevate your journey.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Thanks for staying with The Big Deal. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Health and Human Services Secretary, had a busy first week of the year. On Wednesday, he issued a new dietary guideline for Americans and unveiled this new graphic showing an inverted version of the food pyramid. You see meat there at the top.
The dietary guidelines rest on three pillars: protein, healthy fats, vegetables and fruits, and whole grains. These guidelines replace the corporate-driven assumptions with common sense, gold standard scientific integrity. These new guidelines will revolutionize our nation's food culture and make America healthy again.
Earlier in the week, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reduced the number of vaccines recommended for children from 17 to 11. Vaccines against diseases including hepatitis A and B, meningitis, dengue, the seasonal flu, and the rotavirus were left off of the new immunization schedule. Joining me now to break all of this down is Spectrum News health reporter Erin Billups. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Let's start with the vaccine recommendations. This is a major shift in federal vaccine policy, right? I mean, it's individual states that mandate vaccinations for children. It's not the federal government, so states actually don't have to comply with the updated recommendations from the CDC, but there's still a source of controversy here.
I mean, yes, it's very controversial, but you're right. The stability of the nation's infrastructure, immunization infrastructure, rests on the states, and we're already seeing action according to that. States have kind of combined into coalitions. You have the, like the Eastern Coalition and the Western Alliance, and they're making their own vaccine policy, which then does help to dictate what insurance companies cover, and they're reaffirming traditional immunization schedules. But what the CDC recommends is incredibly influential, and it sort of gives license to, politicians and those in other states who don't want to follow that guidance, and we are already seeing that happen in Florida. They have rolled back school-mandated immunization requirements, and there are several other states, Texas, Louisiana, and Idaho, who are also making moves to do the same thing.
Now, Secretary Kennedy is a known vaccine skeptic, and mistrust of vaccines has actually led to declines of vaccination rates all around the country. In New York, they are experiencing a surge in flu cases, with vaccination rates dropping. But the United States actually has recorded a significant number of measles cases, and that's a preventable disease. How much of that is Kennedy's fault?
He has been part of that dialogue and that rhetoric for years now. So what we're seeing now is actually built up over the past couple of decades of talk against the validity of vaccines. And then we're going to start to see these cases continue to rise. We're already starting to see greater outbreaks, and we're about to lose the status of having eradicated measles. And right now, we're in a flu outbreak that it is a very dangerous, aggressive strain. They're calling it subclade K. It's making people very sick. It's causing pediatric deaths. And at the same time that they changed the immunization schedule for children, which also includes not necessarily recommending the flu vaccine, on another page on the CDC's website, it's recommending, because of the current outbreak, that everyone 6 months and older get vaccinated against the flu, because we're in the middle of an outbreak. So there's a lot of conflicting information there.
Let's go back to the dietary guidelines. Speaking of conflicting information, these are tough recommendations that seem to be completely opposite to what you and other health reporters have been telling us over the years. What should the takeaway be for our viewers? What are you hearing from nutrition experts about all this?
Well, there's mixed reviews. Generally, people are concerned with what you can see on that pyramid of, the red meat front and center, this idea that people should be eating only protein. There's good stuff behind having a protein-filled diet, but there's also concerns. Say the American Heart Association was like, this may lead people to exceed the amount of, fats and salts that they should be taking in. Nutrition experts say there needed to be more nuance there. But in general, you're hearing from the American Medical Association, the Academy of Pediatrics, that this is a good conversation because they want people to get rid of ultra-processed foods in their diets. They want them to get rid of sugars. They want them to focus on whole foods, whole vegetables. That's what's going to make America healthier.
Now, my understanding is that, according to research, most Americans actually don't even read the dietary guidelines, but it does influence school meals and a lot of other kind of institutional decisions along the way.
It does. And so this guidelines committee gave the guidelines to the USDA as well, and then it helps to inform food nutrition policy for schools. And if school meals are not adhering to that policy, they may not get those meals reimbursed for their students, depending on how hard it's enforced on the state. So this definitely impacts what we'll see in schools. But again, on the flip side, if they really do come down on ultra-processed foods, that may mean that there will be less ultra-processed foods in our nation's schools, which could be a really good thing for our kids, because there are lots of fillers and food dyes and additives in their foods, and these ready to make, just heat up the meals that kids are being given, that really should change.
Okay, we will keep an eye on all of that. Thank you very much, Erin Billups, and thank you all for joining us for this episode of The Big Deal. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned to your local Spectrum station.
Friday nights, The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, where Spectrum News' local political journalists break down the most important issues shaping our nation.
Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network. And factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice, it's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app. Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app.